Today we will be learning about object-oriented programming in TypeScript using abstract classes and composition to build testable, extendable applications. First of all, I would like to start with the concept of composition. Composition basically means you have a class, for example, a data class, and you put in another class. Here, a class of type parser, and by doing so, you extend the functionality of the data class. And also, if you do it this way, it helps to write modular code that is easy to test, because each of these classes you put in the data class lives in its own file, and this helps to really write clean code, you could say. Yeah, and you easily can swap these classes. Yeah, you can put in other classes, and by doing so you change the overall functionality of the data class. But I think it's pretty abstract and it's maybe hard to understand. Yeah, that's no problem. Just bear with me. You will understand everything perfectly as we progress in this tutorial. So let me give you a short overview about what we're going to build. We have basically here three classes. We have an abstract class called parser, which has two methods. A load method that is fully implemented, but also it has an abstract class called parse. And this abstract class is special because it's not fully implemented here. And each of these classes, the JSON-Parser and the CSV parser, has to implement its own specific parse method. Or since these two extend the parser, they inherit the load method. Yeah, they can use load method, and they also can use other properties of the parser class because they are extending the parser class. They inherit everything from the parser class, you could say, right? And as you see by the naming convention, we have a parser that is very generic, and then we build classes that are very specific and that are able to parse specific file types, you could say, right? JSON and CSV. All right, I would say let's jump into the code and see how everything works. What I have here is a folder, TSOOP YouTube it is called, and I'm in that folder here. Then what I've done is npm init, so I get a package.json, and then basically you can write these two down under dependencies, tsnode and TypeScript, and then you just can do npm install. And then also what I've done is tsc init. But yeah, that's basically what you have to do. Then you get this TypeScript configuration file. And important thing here is you need to configure an output folder. I called it here dist, and also the source root, I called it source here. And I have to make sure that I have these folders. So dist and another one called src for source. Perfect. And also important, I forgot it, I need two files that I want to pass, and these files are here. There they are. A CSV file here, and also a JSON file. And now we can start to implement the parser class. We make a file under the source folder called parser.ts. And this parser class will make use of the file system. So we import this one. And we can start to build the abstract class called parser. We have to make sure that we provide the keyword abstract. This abstract class will have a protected property called data, which is initially an empty string. And it also will have a constructor, of course, that gets fed the argument path, which is a string and which is meant to be the path, the absolute path to these two files here, to the CSV file and to the JSON file, right? Okay, perfect. And now, and by the way, we don't need to do something like this here. I can show you. We don't have to do this because TypeScript does this automatically behind the scenes. And now we have a property called parse on the parser class. Perfect. Now we implement the load method. It will be a private method. And this private method will make use of fs and load the data. And by specifying UTF-8 here, we return a string. Yeah. So whatever is in the file, in these two files, will be just a big string. And then we can do this.data equals data. So now we have the data property, which was initially an empty string, filled, yeah, with a real string, yeah, with a very big string. All right, nice. Now we have to make sure to also implement the parse method, but this will be an abstract method and it will be not fully implemented. We just provide the function header because, as I told you, this will be implemented different within the different classes. So we just provide it here like this. And we are done with the parser class. Not fully. We are not done fully. This load method, we want to call it automatically whenever the constructor is called. Yeah. So whenever this constructor of the parser class is called, we want to load the data automatically. Beautiful. Now I would say we can start to implement specific classes, and we can start with the CSV parser.ts class. This class, of course, makes use of the abstract class called parser, so we import it. And we create the CSV parser class. And now we see a cool thing here. Because the CSV parser extends parser, we get an error here already, straight on. And the error says that the parse method is not implemented, right? It gives us automatically a hint that we need to implement this thing here. All right, then I would say let's do it. But before, we have to make sure we call the constructor. Or I should not say the constructor of the CSV parser, but the constructor of the parser class. And we do it by providing the super keyword. Yeah, and now we are calling the constructor of the parser of this class here, and we are providing the parse. And now the CSV parser will get another property, a protected property called parse data, and the parse data will eventually contain an array of strings. But initially it is empty. All right. And why do we need this property? I will show you in a bit. Now let's create the parse method. And as I told you, it is specific to each class that extends the parser. All right. And what this parse method will be doing is the following. We call this punct data, and this punct, sorry, this was a bit German. We call this dot data. And what this dot data is, it is basically, where is it? This property here, right? Because the CSV reader extends parser, we have access to this dot data. And this will be the huge string, yeah? This will basically be all of this. Just one big string of all of this. And what we will be doing is the following. We take this huge string and call the split method on it. Oops. And why the split method? Because we want to make an array of strings, right? And because this is one big string, what we are doing is the following. We will split this big string into smaller strings by splitting it at the new line character, you could say, right? Because you can imagine every line has something like this at the end. Yeah, so it's in a new line every entry, and we will use this to make an array of strings out of it. And now we can use map to go over each element of the array and do something with it. And here we can just say it's an entry, yeah. And then we can say this dot parse data, which is this property here, which is an array, yeah. We just can say push and entry. Push that entry into the parse data. And now we basically what we've done here is we've transformed a huge string into an array of strings and put it into parse data. We can also just console.log it, for example. That's not so important. Or it is important, so we can see the output. All right, nice. And what we can do now, we can create just an index.ts file. And we can import a few dependencies. We need the parse module and we need our CSV parser. And now we can construct the absolute path to the CSV file by the following here. We can make use of path.join, take the dir name, which is the directory name of the index file. Then we go up, then we go out of the source folder, and then we can access the CSV file. So we have the absolute parse here. Then we need another thing here, which is a type. We will be providing a type of parser, and the type of parser shall be a CSV parser. Basically, it shall be our special class here. All right. And now we can create a data class or a class called data. Which takes any parser of type parser. We see we have type parser here, and at the moment it's just a CSV parser. And yeah, but the important thing is it has to be of type parser. And as we progress with this tutorial, we will extend the functionality here. All right. Now we make a cool thing here. We create a static method on the data class. Which helps us to extend the functionality. So what we do here is we return a new instance of the data class itself, and we provide an instance of the CSV parser as argument. Yeah? By providing this here as argument to the new data, we basically put this thing into the constructor. And by doing so, we get the following. We get this here, but we don't have to write it, right? Because TypeScript does this automatically. And what we can do now is to create an instance of the data class by doing the following. Oops, sorry. And we just call the static method on the class itself. Because it's a static method, we can call it on the class and we don't have to instantiate the class. We don't have to do it, we just can straight call it. And because of this return statement, we get back an instance of the data class, which takes in another class, the CSV parser. And by doing so, we get the functionality of the CSV parser embedded into our data class. All right, and now we can just call data.parser, right? Data.parser, because we provided it here to the constructor, dot parse. Because the parser, which is the CSV parser, has the parse method. Oops, sorry, this is from the abstract class, but can look it up like this, right? Because it has the parse method here. Beautiful. And what we can do now is we can just type ts note and then index.ts. Oops, and we get an error. And yeah, I'm sorry, I have to cd into source. And now I can try again. Beautiful. And now you see we get an array of strings. So we have successfully parsed the CSV file. Yeah. Before it was just a big string. Yeah, not like this, not an array of strings, but a big string. And by parsing it here in the CSV parser, we have transformed it, you could say. Yeah. After every new line, you have split the huge string. Yeah, but this is only a simple example just to show you yeah, how composition works, right? And the thing here is now we have implemented a CSV parse functionality into the data class. Now I would say let's do another cool thing. Since we have implemented the CSV parse functionality by providing a CSV parser class, let's also implement a JSON-Parse functionality by creating a JSON-Parser.ts. And this class also extends the abstract class called parser, so we import it and let's create it. There it is. Nice. And yeah, we also get this error. We have to implement the parse method, yeah, from here, you see. And it has to be specific, right? Because now we want to parse JSON files, but not CSV files. And you will see these two methods, parse methods, will differ. All right. First of all, we have to make sure to call the constructor of the parser class. So we have to call public super here, yeah, because we never can directly call the constructor of the abstract class. We always have to do it in a class that extends the abstract class, and there we have to call super. Now we provide here a string as argument, right? And by doing so, we run the constructor of the parser class. Next, we need to implement a property called parse data, and this shall be protected. And it is initially an empty array, but eventually it will be an array where each element has a type of entry. And we have to create that type, or I should say interface. It's an interface. It's called entry, and it has the following structure here. It has a title, release, and actors, and all of them are strings. Okay, and now let's implement the parse method to get rid of this error here. All right. In this parse method, we can call this line here. So basically, we can access this .data because this .data is a property of the abstract class, which we extend here in the JSON parser. Yeah, so we have access to it, to this .data, and by using JSON.parse, we turn this huge string into a JSON object. And we say this JSON object shall have the following structure. It should be an array where each object has these properties. And we can have a look into the JSON file, and we see that it is an array with an object, with objects, where each object has the following structures. but I just took only a few of them because I was lazy and it's not so important. Yeah. And now I say each element of the array has this structure. Okay. And now I can call .map on it because we have an array. We have specified that it should be an array of objects. And I get an error here. Why is it? Let me see. I think I have to do a round bracket here. And now, yeah, I can call .map on it because it's an array of objects. And now I can say we have an entry here. We can call this, yeah, doesn't matter. It's not important what we call it, like. And we can now say that we want to push something to this .parse data. And what do we want to push? The following. Yeah, we can push an object with these properties. If we don't do it like this, if we delete one property, we get an error because this entry, which has this type here, right? This is because I specified it here. Now it's not type of any, but it's a specific type. Yeah, we can see it here. That's pretty cool. But the thing here is we have specified it here that the parse data should be an array where each element has the type of entry. So we have to be exactly like this. Okay. And now we can also put a console.log here. Right. Here. Cool. So, yep. What we can do now here is we can copy this, paste it here, and turn this into data2 and provide a JSON-Parse here. Yeah. And I see JSON-Parse, I don't have it in this file, so let me get it. We get the JSON-Parse to the JSON file, all right. And now we can call data2.parse. Sorry, I made a mistake because I call from CSV here 2 times. That's wrong. We need to create another static method called from JSON. Yeah, because we want to use our JSON-Parser class. Yeah, because only the JSON-Parser class can parse JSON files. Okay, and we have to make sure we import it. JSON-Parser. Now we get another error. Why is this? We get another error because JSON-Parser is also a parser, right? So we have to add it to the type. Yeah, because CSV parser, but also JSON parser, they are both of type parser, because both of them extend the parser class. And now we have to make sure we call from JSON here. Okay, cool. And now let's see how the output looks like. And now, beautiful, the output is correct. First of all, we get the output of the CSV file. We see we get an array of strings. Yeah, and here this is maybe not so beautiful. We have the header here inside also, but this is not so important here. Yeah, the important thing is that it is an array of strings. So we have successfully parsed the CSV file. And now here's the second output, which is from the JSON file. And we see we get it successfully with 3 properties. Yeah, we have an array of objects with 3 properties. Because here we said we want to push an object with these 3 properties into the parse data array. And here we console.log it. That's basically it. Of course, we can also extend this further. Yeah, we can. So we print out more properties, but I was lazy, so I kept it like this. And now you can maybe see how object-oriented programming can be helpful. Yeah, we have a class here called data, and we can extend its functionality. So this class is able to read data from CSV files, but also JSON files. And we can even extend it further. And because everything is in separate files, it's very modular, easy to test, yeah. And I think it's pretty cool. That's basically it. Thanks for watching. I hope it was a little bit helpful, and see you next time. Have a great day.